Mr. Daniel Cronin, right here at Electrical Dreams.
Heck yeah, I'm happy to be here, man. I grew up in San Diego or Escondido, and I don't even know how it happened. I always had a track in my backyard. I was fortunate enough to grow up on like an acre, and we always had an area that there was a track. And out of all my neighborhood friends, we'd have our own sections. Everybody would have their own sections. And so, like, some of them would have jumps, some of them would have other obstacles and whatnot. Just have fun, right? Always get in trouble by my mom she was a clean freak. Like, she would walk on this floor with her flip flops, and if she heard like
Some sort of
crunching,
clicking,
oh man, like my friends would, it's like we were going to get beat. That's how everybody acted if we came up into the garage with dirt on our shoes. But none of them ever converted into slot cars. Some of them would do it every once in a while. And this is even when there was a track down the street that was within. We rode our bicycles everywhere, all BMX bikes. That was like another phase.
And that's in Escondido, right?
Escondido, yeah. And so high school happens, and I kind of just get out of it. And I think that's because people were starting to drive.
That happens, yeah.
Yeah, like it's
girlfriends driving more.
Sure,
Yeah.
you're starting to come into more like responsive things that you're supposed to be responsible for,
still
right?
Looking for serious work and careers.
Yeah,
and
so it took years. I think in like early 2000s, I ended up going through another RC phase, and but there was no track by us anymore. I had to come up to Fountain Valley to go to SoCal, and then SoCal when it was off of I think it was off Brookhurst, which might have been Huntington Beach. I don't remember, but then got out of that and ended up. I still always remembered the HO on the proper track at Gary Cleverly's. Okay, I moved to Utah. Went to work up there. I came back to California because started talking with my wife. She was down here. We went to school together, but we never like talked to each other, never really knew each other. And then I ended up moving back to California, and we ended up getting married. And I wanted to make a little track in my garage, but I think I was coming up here to Buena Park with the 124 stuff, running on the flat track. And then I was like, I'm going to get an HO track. So I bought an AFX 4-lane set, got hooked up with Gary Morgan, who runs at that time ran the Score. It's like Southern California HO racers.
Okay.
And there was a lot of 124 guys there too. John Sucres was part of our race group. Oscar was part of our race group. I know there's a lot of guys, so if you guys watch this, if you're still alive, I remember you, but we started doing the circuit, right? And I was like, I got to have one of these tracks. I built a 4-lane AFX track, 4x8, that was in my garage. And me and my brothers raced on that thing. We would just do fastest lap challenge, okay? And we were running these crappy Tycos that Mattel made these. They were blowing them out for like $450 a car.
Jeez.
Okay, and we would take those. We'd take the traction magnets out, and they had a really hot arm in them because they were made for a battery-powered set, like a figure eight. And we would take the traction mags and run them on 10 volts just so that they were controllable, right? We had so much fun with that. Ended up getting into the racing side of it and in the circuit. And so there's a lot of really nice HO racetracks around. And I was like, I got to have a track. So I go through that process, which, we're talking like 2010. So, and HO stuff, just like other slot car stuff, was kind of late to like the e-com stuff. So there really wasn't a lot of that back then. But I knew that Brad Bowman made tracks. TKO made tracks, which they were like in the East Coast. And then someone had told me, I think it might have been Joachim or Mike Lowe. They're like, Scott Dunlap makes tracks too. And so I drew up this track just on paper, And Scott was like, I can't make that, but I can make this for you. And it's called a Scorpion. It's like an iconic HO
Is that the
racetrack.
one that Mike Lowe had won in Buena Park?
I built that one
Oh, you had
later
one.
on. Yeah.
Nobody knows what happened to that. Mike Lowe wants to give it to me.
Yeah, I don't
To
know.
put it here, and then the new owner of Buena Park. No, that belongs to the deal that I
Yeah.
made.
We kind of ruined that thing when we made it an L, but we'll get to that point. Okay, but so I had a track made by Scott and built a really nice table for it, and we had a ton of fun on that thing. But the track was always super low traction. It was like I was running on ice. Okay. And I learned that the rail that's used in the track, that the width of the rail has massive effect on the car,
Tire, yeah.
not the height. Everybody always talks rail height. What's the rail height? What's the rail height for the car to get the car set up the height? But the rail width is really important because that's
the
what
tire is gonna touch it.
well, that's actually what the magnets are attracted to. So the
true.
wider that surface, the wider that surface, the more downforce you'll have. So even if you had a flat piece of like, I don't know, 10 thousandths thick material, but it was flat, your magnets would be full strength on that versus putting that on edge. It's a lot less. And so I learned that he used what's called T-jet rail. That's what it's called in our industry. And it's about 50% less downforce about 30% less downforce. And so I learned these setups to make my car fast on that track. And there was a few of those tracks in our circuit. And when we started running the higher powered magnet cars with what we call rock tires, which is just a really hard tire, they would not work with hard tires. And I remember one race, I call it my breakthrough race. And some of these guys might remember this race, but it was at Mike Lowe's. He had a track called the Hammer, which was a really cool track. I think it's in New Mexico now. But in modified, I think I won the main by like 83 laps. And the last heat, I didn't even have to run it.
Yeah.
But the car was so dialed in, and it had less magnet, but it was just a different combination. But learning how to drive on that track with a light rail, it made me really, really good at tuning and really understand the car. And I compare it to full-scale guys learning how to drive in the wet. And then when you give them grip, if they understand how the car needed to work in the wet, when you give them grip, they know what the car should feel like now that there's grip. And it's like, wow, I can go way deeper.
Then they
and
look for
they're
the grip
very
too,
good,
yeah.
right? So that kind of kicked that off. But I just hated the fact that I couldn't run the faster cars like the way that the rest of the country ran them. And so I ripped the rail out of that track and rerouted the rail slot because it had to be deeper for the different rail. I sourced the rail, continuous railed it, which just one joint, and it was insane. It was really, really good. And at that point, I was like, okay, what I started with was just the routed track. That's what a CNC shop would do for me anyways. I'm going to just make another track. I'm going to make a new track. And at that time, I was working in aerospace and very familiar with CAD. And looking at the tracks, I'm like, these are just R's, S's, O's, I's. They're just letters. And so I drew up a track, found a sign shop because I knew sign shops were cutting that stuff, and had the first 4x8 cut in like 2011. And
With the proper rails, with the proper painting, everything.
yeah, so I learned they cut it, and I had all of my specs on like the depths and stuff. The rail slots were not even anywhere close to where they needed to be. And so not knowing what I didn't know at that time, the rail height was super high in one lane. I had to file the entire lane. Luckily, it was only a 4x8. I never finished the other lane. It had the rails in it. And when I gave that to one of my coworkers, which that first track is probably still out there somewhere, right? With the single lane or with only one lane that's good. But after I did that, I was like, okay, I know how to do this. And I think I made one track for a guy that was up here somewhere in Orange County or LA named Sean. The second one was for Mike Lowe, which it was a red. It was basically an Engelmann layout, or yeah, it was like I would call it a parallel Engelmann because we were inside of a 4-foot box. There was no like angle or anything like that. And that's the track that turned into the right angle track that was at Buena Park.
Yeah.
And I think that change was made to just make it fit better.
Yeah.
But it killed the flow. Like it just, I'm very, very conscious of track flow, and we've made over 1,000 tracks.
Already?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And we actually, I sold the track company in January 2024.
Okay.
So I haven't made a track since then. But we'll touch back on where we're at with that later. But whenever I draw tracks, and now I've done so many that I know exactly what they're going to drive like with different cars, where the crashes are going to be, what the crash trajectory is going to be in both directions, to just plan for how it's going to be, you know. And a lot of guys, when they get to the point where they want a routed HO track, and this isn't a dig on everybody, and it's not putting myself on a pedestal, but typically most people are not track designers. They are filling a space with the track that they have, and they want to fill all the space.
Yeah,
and then their finger ends up half throttle, and then they hit the straightaway. And that, to me, that's not driving.
Yeah,
you know. And when you drive on something with flow, it's like, man, I'm in the car right now. You know, like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And you can see the reaction. You can brake deep. You can.
Yeah, like there's just it's amazing. And then when you're next to other people that are in that same flow, it's awesome. And you really don't experience that until you drive on a track that has flow. Like, it's not like just a bunch of jagged corners with, like, there's no F1 circuits like that too. There's no real race circuits that are like that, except for usually street circuits might be a little bit like that. And that's why a lot of guys don't like the street circuits. They're compromised with the track design because they're building a track on a grid system.
Yeah.
You know, and to me, that's the same compromise that you get when you have just 90-degree corners available to you, you know, or 45s are okay, right? But a lot of guys like the 90 degrees are so readily available with in HO specifically.
Yeah.
They use those a lot, you know.
Yeah, especially because you're dealing with a 4x8 or something.
Yeah,
They want to use all the space.
Exactly. So, but that's how the track stuff started. And basically after that, I was like, I'm going to try to do one of these every single month and supplement my income. And we were hardcore racing at that time. You know, we would race at my house twice a year. So every month the score circuit would race. And I had a parts wall. I started buying from 3 of the bigger aftermarket companies, like the hardcore racer companies, BSRT, Wizard, and Slot Tech. And I would always buy extras, or I would buy in bulk, and I would put that stuff on my parts wall. And I forget what year it was. It might have been 2012. I started, the tracks were originally called Elite Slotcars. And there was a website I created, eliteslotcars.com. And I would sell slot car parts on there. And I'd also those $4.50 Mattel cars. I would buy those and break them down. And a lot of guys wanted the arm because it was a 3.5 ohm. It was like a modified armature. And in HO, everything is rated by ohms. Like the motors, it's not turns, it's none of that. It's just this ohm. The lower the ohm, the faster the arm, right? And magnet wise, they're by strength. So it's numbers, higher the number, stronger the magnet. So I was selling that stuff, and I remember, you know, being stoked if we got a couple orders a week, you know, and this is really early. Nobody else had, you know, what I would call click online ordering. You could go on their website, but you still had to call
See a
them.
catalog, yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to mail in or email them with your order. Some of them are still like that to this day.
Yeah.
You know who you are. But it got to the point where I was buying more and more and more. And I realized with some of those vendors, it got to the point where they were bogged down with the order. And it's silly. And I've gone through this too now as like the level that we're at now, where filling an order for an individual that's super high with a lot of things, you almost would rather do more of the small orders of like, oh, this guy ordered one car, because you have more of a process for that. You're not set up. You haven't graduated to being able to handle the big orders, right? And you've probably gone through this evolution as well.
Yeah.
But I got to the point where the more I ordered, and I'm reacting to what my customers are wanting at this time. They're wanting more stuff because I've given them a way to buy stuff really easily that they couldn't get before. Okay. And I order more. The orders take longer to fulfill. And it just snowballs basically to where we're at like a bottleneck from these manufacturers. So I'm like, I'm going to just start making my own parts.
Stuff, yeah.
I do it every day already at work. Okay. So I worked, by this time I'm making like tooling, process improvement, taking jobs that were taking 20 hours and turning them into less than a shift. And also got into doing some top secret stuff, which was really cool. But it was really like babysitting, like it was basically the machines were making parts that were super, super critical, high precision, long run, because it was on an EDM machine. And I basically was just there. If something happened, I needed to be able to perform to save the part, because some of the parts, $500,000 part. And bored out of my mind. Okay, secure area, no cell phone. All I could think about was being at home with my family or Slotcars. And started making parts. I started with a guide pin. So it's $2.50 part. That was retail. And had 1,000 pieces made. Simple part, right? And I spent a long time thinking, what part should I start with? But that was the part. It's like, how many guide pins do people need? You know what I mean? They don't, not a lot, especially when you make a good one. It doesn't wear out, it doesn't bend, it doesn't break. And that's how we pretty much started. And then once I sold and got enough money back, and I was selling a track a month at this time.
And still making the tracks out of your garage.
Tracks in the garage. I put a little single rack in there to start putting parts. And I think had one of my brothers working with me, not my brother Art, who is an attorney now, but and my other brother John, he still works with me. He's been with me for like 7 years now. But we started with the guide pin, and as soon as I could save up enough money to buy the next part, we would. So then I made a front end, wheels and the axle.
And those were improvements to the industry?
I would say that they were just additions. Okay. So the guide pin, one of the things that was unique on that one is we did a reverse taper, which was low friction because just the tip of it would be in contact, but it also would let the car roll. So HO cars do roll quite a bit, and they'll roll until they get to the point where I call it the breakaway point, where
they get, the guide.
Yeah, or the magnetism. Like you can pull in the magnetic field, and once you get out of it, it's like it snaps, jumps, and it's off.
You have the bubble.
Yeah. So and that was an improvement, but it was also something that was like they've never not been available for the last 14 or 15 years.
That's nice.
Well, not 14 or 15. The last like 10 to 12 years.
Hundreds of thousands of guide pins.
Lots of guide pins. Yeah.
Sold. Put in a sign over there.
Lots of guide pins out there. And we just started making other parts. And I was around that time, probably like 2013, I got hooked up with a guy named Terry Flynn in Florida. Terry was making resin magnets. So it's a resin casing with a little neo magnet in there, and he was selling on eBay. He was also a painter, is a painter still, even though he doesn't do that anymore. We call that hard money.
Hard money, yeah.
It's good, but once you have other things that are better, that are
You
easier,
put your time on it. Yeah.
you know, and luckily there's been other people that have come that fill that void, because it always stinks when there's something really good and then you lose that skill and there's nobody else to do it, right?
Yeah.
But he was magnet guy. He started making magnets that directly competed with one of the main 3 manufacturers at that time.
Okay.
And when that happened, he got cut off from that manufacturer. They were like, "You're a competitor now.
Yeah.
You're done." So he knew my engineering background and my manufacturing background. And he's like, "Do you think we could do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, like let's do it." So we started working on the Viper chassis at that time, which was based on the Tomy Super G Plus, which is, like, in my opinion, the best production slot car ever made. That's also the slot car that I ran when I was a kid on the proper HO track. Okay. And so we started designing the chassis, doing improvements. There was a lot of things to the other chassis was like the BSRT chassis is also based on the Super G Plus. And they happened to be the company that cut them off. I was still buying stuff from them, but like I said, when the orders got over $1,000, it got to where it was really hard and long to get stuff. And those cars, though, we were still racing those cars. That's what I would race. That was my preferred car, that and the Wizard car. I guess I ran all of the cars. It depended on the track that we went to here in California. But the BSRT car, there were still a lot of little things that had to be done to it to make it what I would call race ready. And I implemented those changes that I made to make it race ready into the Viper chassis, to where that thing, when you just put it together, it's good. You don't have to do anything to it.
Yeah.
And even to this day, that mold still produces what I consider a perfect chassis. Square, flat, you can't feel any flashing on it. You know, the mold is still, it was way overbuilt for our industry because of the amount of parts per year that we can move. But I've been running that mold for over 10 years now.
So Viper has one model of chassis.
Right now, well, we have 2. We just released one in May,
Okay.
the V3. We skipped V2 because we had a couple of revisions we did to the V1. But the V1, it was awesome, you know. But while we were developing that and going through all of the teething process of the mold, changes to the mold, all of these things, I was making all the other components. So another one was the N-Bell. The N-Bell unit, Tomy had a patent on that expired in, like, I forget, 2010 or 12 or 13 or something like that. And so I was working on a replacement and refining it and whatnot. And once that expired, we were probably still like a year past when it had expired, but we launched that. And I think when we launched that, that's when the other manufacturers were kind of like, okay, this isn't just another company making axles and rims. Because all of that stuff, there's still a lot of individuals out there that make that stuff. Any machinist can make it, right? Like, I get that all the time. Any machinist. It's like, yeah, can you make, 10,000 of them within 2/10 run out on all of them? Like, go do that in your garage, But
you're doing all those parts in-house?
No, so we have different vendors all
Yeah.
over the place. So one of my things in aerospace was also to like find companies that manufacture things that we didn't have the tools or machines in-house to do, and that specialize in that kind of stuff. So had really good vendor relations, and I still work with some of them. Some of them are in Asia.
Yeah.
Some of them are here in the States. I will say too, my Asian connections, or my Asian factories, have been amazing. Like I love the mindset that of working with them. I haven't had price increases too bad on that stuff, whereas some of my American,
Yeah.
I'm all for American manufacturing, but there's a point where you just can't do stuff. And when the majority of people, they speak with their wallet over their mouth, usually, like it usually comes out of their wallet first, right? But I love working with all of them. It's just a lot of times the biggest problems are my American companies. Like every year it's like 5 to 10% price increase. And, we absorbed that. We had our first price increases ever last year. This time last year, we implemented those. And that was, I didn't want to do it. It's like, I don't want to do it.
It's part of the business, especially this year with the tariffs and everything else.
But a lot of those parts too, the pricing on them was based on...
Go check the price of a Big Mac 10 years ago.
I know. I just stopped at the gas station on the way over here. It's $10, and I was thinking, I'm like, wow, like
$10?
Yeah, for a drink and a protein bar.
Oh, okay, yeah. Cool.
But we made the end bell, and so I think then we got a little bit of looks like, okay, like that's a serious part because it has multiple stamped parts in it that are made on progressive die tooling. It has a molded part, and it has a bushing or a bearing, depending on how you set it up. And it has a composite brush, and that's all done, all assembled. So at that time, we were just putting all of those parts onto like the BSRT platform. Mm-hmm. And in 2014, we rolled the chassis out. And at that time, there hadn't really been anything new for
HO stuff.
Probably since like late 2000, like 2007.
The Mattel stuff.
Well, no, I mean there was Slot Tech had their T2.
Well, it's for me. I'm not a specialist. We have Mark Nativida here who knows everything about it.
Yeah.
Actually, Mark started working here because I bought a collection of HO stuff, and he helped me to catalog and put up for sale.
Gotcha.
But as far as I know, we have the high production stuff with AFX and later with Mattel, Tyco, whatever you call it. And then we came up with those smaller companies doing professional parts for it. Like Wizard and BRST, right?
BSRT.
BSRT, and then you came along, and then you guys discovered that okay, those guys are not doing any improvements on that thing. We need to start to do our own stuff.
Yeah,
that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it was more of just the only way for us to give a new customer, a high performance car was to make it ourselves.
Yeah, and then the tracks came along too.
Yeah, and the tracks were kind of in parallel with that, and it was like a whole package almost, because you know how it is when someone rediscovers the hobby, and if they're like boomer age, it could be the answer to their retirement. Because I hear it a lot of times, like
it's a great way.
They're like, I'm close to retiring. I didn't know what I was going to do. I forgot about this hobby. I didn't know it exists. And now that I see it and I see that it has all these levels, like all these verticals, they're like, this
verticals,
is it.
Yeah, verticals is a good way to
They're like, this is it. And then and those are the guys too that they're not used to seeing a track set for $80.
Yeah.
Right. Like they have gone through life and they've bought motorcycles and toys and houses and other things where they're okay spending, like 10 grand on a track
compared to a jet ski.
Yeah. Or a motorcycle that's going to be in the garage, like not here in California, but like if they live in the rest of the country,
they're going to use it for 3 months.
Yeah. They'll use it for a quarter of the time and they're okay spending 20 grand on that. But, there's a lot of like customer psychology there too. But those guys, they wanted a whole package, and they're the guys that are buying a whole turnkey setup from me where they want cars, controllers, they want everything. They want to be able to plug it in
because that's going to be $10,000
and use it.
That's another hobby.
Yeah. It's another hobby, right? And then there's all these channels for cars and parts and all of that stuff, and like they go on eBay and they buy everything that they couldn't get when they were a kid. But when you have that person come in, that person didn't have access to or didn't even know how to access.
Well, the access was not that good.
It wasn't.
I remember
no.
the catalog that you need to call in.
Yeah.
The mail order.
Yeah.
Now it's a click away and a phone, maybe a phone call, but I don't even need it.
My motto is that when someone goes in the bathroom, okay, when they're working and they go in the bathroom, I want them to be able to scroll and shop, and it has to be that easy.
So you think Slotcars is a bathroom hobby?
I mean, I don't know. Be. You guys say in the comments, right? Like, how many of you guys check things out?
Yeah.
With Facebook nowadays too, you could, you can go through your feed and see a lot of.
I never bought anything out of a toilet. Like, that's not my.
It might be like maybe you just add it to the cart and then you get it later.
No, I don't. I do mostly social media on the toilet. I don't do purchasing. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
I never thought this way. Maybe should start designing pages for people on the toilet.
Yeah, figure out what the timing is and be like, all right, we got this much time to get it through. So that's kind of how we got to that point with the car, okay? And we've been doing I ended up buying the equipment to do the tracks. Like I said, we were doing that in parallel.
Just make a parenthesis here. You're very good to be interviewed because I don't have to do nothing. We just came out of the joke. We come back to the point that we're going.
Professional.
So,
professional.
Just go,
you know what I mean?
Fine. Just go.
But yeah, so we were doing both, and we're known for the tracks, right? And the cars, the car is really easy. Like at that time, it raised the whole, like there wasn't as big of a gap between the we'll say the slow guys and the fast guys. Mm-hmm. That car, you could put it together with our parts and they would feel like their car has the ability to run the lap times needed, but their skill set was the factor. But the car was at least good, which I think all of us, we all seek that. If we could run the lap time one time.
Yeah, which is something that happens constantly here, almost daily. Like when I see people there struggling, they ask me to give it a lap and say, okay, it's not the car, it's me.
Yeah.
I can improve it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
They need to know that, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's because the car is a...
And sometimes I can beat their times and say, okay, I'm better than Marcos. The car is good. I'm fine.
Yeah. I mean, and that's good for people to know that. And for us, it was... The real problem was that there's so many what I call toy parts. I call the mass-produced stuff like the AFX Tyco. I call those toys because those were made for toy stores.
Yeah.
That's where they were sold. Yeah. I get crap for it all the time. Guys take it as an insult a lot of times. And it's not made to be an insult, but it's like...
It's just like
when you're holding a controller that was designed for a 7-year-old's hand.
Yeah.
It's a toy.
No, but it's just like when we need to divide the 1/32 scale stuff. Like we have Carvalho and Scalextrics that are selling sets and they're selling to home users. And sometimes people brought those cars to race and they're not that good, so they're trying to improve.
Yeah.
And then we have people who just do professional slot cars like Scale Auto, Avant Slot, NSR, Slotted. Those guys, they are like 2-piece chassis.
Yeah, all you flip the cars over and it's like, this is
all the
Carrera, and then you see right away.
The problem that we have now is that the price is very similar.
Yeah.
And then people will buy the toy cars, and then if you get a little bit involved in slot car racing, they just go straight to the professional ones, and then the toy companies are losing room there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the same thing.
Yeah. So that was a little bit of the problem because a lot of the parts with like the Tomy Super G Plus, like 95% of the car is interchangeable. And guys would do the tweaks that they were used to doing on the older stuff to the new stuff, and they actually would degrade the performance of the car. So like our box stock car is really, really good out of the package, the V-Spec car. It doesn't need anything. It's broken in. It's literally ready to go. And I was really pushing that early on a lot. And I actually realized, and this is crazy, it always sounds crazy to say it, but it was so good that you just had to put a body on it and drive it, that I realized with a lot of guys, it robbed them of their hobby. And what I mean by that is they like to hobbyists including myself. I'm a hobbyist and a business person simultaneously all the time, but I'm usually more on the hobbyist side than business side when it comes to certain things, right? Most of the time. But as a hobbyist, you want to tinker with it, you want to play with it, you want to improve it. And when you already get there, when you already have the recipe, it's not as much fun. And you might see it with certain guys that come in that want to start racing. They financially can buy the right stuff, and they might go right to the guy and say, I want to buy the exact stuff. And then they just have to focus on the driving. And if they have good skill, then they'll come up through the ranks really quick. And then within a year or two, they're gone. They're out of here. They're into another hobby.
Frustrated, yeah. Also, I have the people who does the same and they cannot get along or up to speed, and then they get frustrated.
Yeah,
as well.
they get frustrated because they can't buy the.
Yeah,
can't buy the.
The guy who comes here for the second time and buys a 300 tire thrower. So I shouldn't do that now. Maybe go a little bit more. Go a little bit deeper, because if you do that now, there's nothing to do tomorrow.
Yeah, and so I with the car, I was like, okay, I need to make more parts for the older cars that guys are tinkering with, or like an Auto World car, for instance, that someone could get at Hobby Lobby. Like they look good, but they're not produced to be performance slot cars. They're made to be a die cast that basically can be controlled to drive around a track, right? And we started making parts for what I call our OEM parts, which is like pickup shoes, springs, tires.
Just to improve those cars.
Yeah, and really like expand into all of the popular cars, like the T-Jet stuff, the Magna Traction stuff. Some of it's interchangeable too, which is nice. And that's when, we're starting to get more and more customers. They see the high performance stuff and they're like, that's not for me, but we wanted to be their go-to for reconditioning, upgrading and getting that car from the 60s back on track. That's what we really wanted to have there. So that opened my eyes to more stuff that was available for people. And that's kind of why we didn't go from, like, we went so long before we made another version of the chassis. Like that lasted 10 years. We fell right into that, like, where 2008 or whenever the last new high performance car was made, it was because there really didn't need to be another one at that time.
Yeah.
And Wizard made a new car, which was really good. And, RC's super smart.
Yeah.
Did a really good job with the magnets. Yeah. And, really good car. And it really didn't have a lot of effect to me personally, like on the racing side, because we have a lot of customers that are racers and hardcore racers, but they know the formula and they know, that, okay, this car, even if I race 20 times a year, these parts will last this long. Like they know what that stuff is, and they have a relatively like control on their budget. They're not buying a lot of 20 cars off of eBay that all need pickup shoes and all need tires. Like that guy, he'll come into my store or onto our platform and buy all pickup shoes, all the tires, like all that stuff for those cars. And he'll do that over and over and over and over, And so,
and they're proud about the performance increase.
Yeah. And they're really happy with, wow, putting tires on this made a huge difference. And it was a, $3 part or whatever. But we ended up making the new car, and we launched that in April. So when I was in Hawaii, I did the launch on that, which was cool. So went to Hawaii. That was like the first real family vacation in years. Like I work a lot. Like
Well, 6 kids. You should.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're doing here right now.
But I also too, like, I don't consider, because I love our hobby so much, it never feels like work.
That's good.
It really never feels like work.
Well, I can say the same. Feels like work. I came here at 7 a.m. to interview you.
I know. I mean, to me though, I'm like, yeah, this is, it's fun. And so, but at the same time, I'm like, I need to go on a vacation.
Yeah.
We launched that thing, and it's been good. It was something new for a lot of our customers, and there's not a lot of room left in for the particular race classes that like that car is made to compete in.
Yeah.
But also too, they're so fast that it really only caters to like our base car, like the V-Spec or even the V-Spec X, which is based on our V3. Compared to most people's collections, that car is like something you just get out. Like it'd be like down there if you threw like a Eurosport, or not a Eurosport, maybe not that radical, like a GT12 on the track in comparison to the scale cars, and it's like, wow, that has a lot more power. That's exhilarating, but it's something that you just do a few laps with, and people say wow, and then you put it away. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how that base model car of ours is already, and we're going to start venturing into more of the high-end scale stuff. So the injection molded bodies.
Okay, that was my next question.
Yeah,
but it's still performance, not toys.
Total high performance. And the thing with our car too is you can put brass weights in it. You can run it on low voltage, and it runs very much like a non-magnet.
But is Viper planning to reach the toy market?
I wouldn't call it the toy market, but I will be in
Vertigo.
Yeah. So,
are we looking for nice cars and licensings and stuff like that?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
That's in the future.
Yeah, because you have all the connections in Asia, right?
Yeah, and I mean a lot of that stuff though, like that's just the evolution of what needs to happen. You know, like I don't get a lot of fun out of.
And where the volume of sales is too.
Yeah, and the volume, and honestly, to me, like it's the hobby. It's the growth for the hobby. Real estate gets more and more expensive for everybody everywhere. Mm-hmm. You know, HO scale has always, in my opinion, it's been an American thing. Mm-hmm. It has a little bit of legs in Australia, and that's typically just because
almost nothing in Europe.
Almost nothing in Europe. Okay, and the way I see it, and you know, maybe you might be able to comment on this too, is like you get your little kids HO scale, and when they get old enough to run 132 or 124, that's really what slot cars are.
I don't believe that you have this kind of stuff.
I felt like that with mostly Europe.
The way that I feel is that people were really proud of the scale that they choose. It's very hard to combine a guy from not even, let's call verticals. I like it. My wife uses that a lot. She works in a vertical in her company. But it's very hard to bring a guy from dragster racing to race 124th. The other way around, the same thing. It's very hard to bring a 124 scale guy to 132nd. Now we were making a little bit more popular here. Maybe some people, there's competition here.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of prejudice too. Like, no, I built my own chassis and I'm going to race plastic cars. And then when they came here to a national race, they say, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they're developing a lot. They're doing the same thing with tires. It's very common. So I have like Dennis Hill, Foamy here coming. And this is a guy who raced since the 60s and won everything, and he's challenge for him. Like sometimes he can't understand, and he's struggling, but he's doing it because of the challenge, because of the hobby. But I don't think people are gonna come from HO to 132nd and then one. I don't think that's the way. I think people just choose it. Mark Nativita here, he races 132nd with us, but he's a HO nut.
Yeah,
like he showed me pictures of him as 5 years old putting together a HO track and looking into the camera. It's just like
I love all scales. It's just from a space standpoint.
Yeah,
that's kind of why I gravitate to HO. Now,
but you can also fit a very nice 4-lane on a 4x8.
Yeah. You can have fun with it too.
132nd scale,
right? And I think a lot of people it sounds silly, but they almost need permission to know that that's okay. Like I get a lot of people that are like, I only have this much room for a drag strip, and I'm like, it doesn't matter how long the track is. If you have a start line and a finish line, that's what you're racing. You're reacting, and the car gives you a number. And then if you make a change and it's faster, then you know it's faster or slower. Like
how popular is HO drag racing?
So
I never saw it.
It's getting more popular. We created a proxy league. Last December we did our first one, and we're just under 300 entries per thing.
300 cars that go in that box.
Yes.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, and people send cars from all over the world to us. We came up with a full impound system because car control is when you have that many people's cars, you have shipping stuff coming in. We have, packages going out every day. Like that was my main thing. And, we still to this day have never had a problem with that. So it's been well thought out, right?
Prox is just nuts. I never heard about it till I was at Dennis Sanson's house one point, and he got this big box with like 60 132nd scale cars. So what's going on?
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to have to race all those cars and have the results sent out. It's just...
Yeah, for our drag racing, so one of the things that's unique is we came up with classes that would allow any car to race, okay? And we do 1/10 indexes. So when we qualify the car, that whatever its faster time is, it sets it in that index. And so the light will turn green. Like let's say you have an 800 car, so 0.8 of a second running a car that's running 1.5 seconds. Even if that car ran an 896, it's in the 0.8 index.
But dragster is not most about the reaction of the driver. So how?
A lot of times it is, but we have a module that plugs into our TrackMate system.
So it goes automatically?
The computer controls it. So when it turns green,
okay,
the car reacts.
More fair.
Yeah, so it removes that part of the human element.
Yeah, okay.
So the real challenge with our racing is getting the car to run as low as it can in its index without going too fast. So like you would want to run an 800 to be perfect. And if you run up against someone that's also running in the 800, but let's say they run an 805, you would have won because you have an 800.
Yeah.
But the slower cars do react slower. So they have a slower reaction time. So that's another factor that, you don't want to put a car out that's running like 3 seconds because it's to just break the beam. The car is physically slower. It's going to have a worse reaction time, which you're giving up time there.
Yeah.
No, I love this hobby so much. And I've always asked myself, like, why are there not more people into this hobby?
Yeah.
And you take any other product, and if you go do market research, go to the street and ask people, like, do you enjoy this or is this cool? Like, with any other toy or even a hobby product, if you got 3 out of 10, you would go to market with it, right? You go ask people about slot cars, okay? Anybody that's probably our age or older, so grew up in the 80s.
36?
Yeah, last 10 years ago. No. But anybody that's 40s and older, you ask them about slot cars and you get the same reaction every single time.
Yeah.
I love that. If it's girls, my brothers used to have that.
But you know that we have a window that is very dangerous for our hobby there, right?
What's that?
Well, we lived in the 90s.
Yeah.
Because we're the same age. And we still have the nostalgia to come back. We did college, we married, you had 6 kids, and then you came back with the nostalgia.
Sure.
But what about the people who were born in the 90s?
Yeah.
And then the 2000s, there were no slot cars, there were computers and video games and street fighting and
so
street fighting is a video game.
For sure.
Yeah. So the nostalgia of those 2000 kids are not there anymore. So they're not coming back when they're 30s and 40s.
Sure.
And that's a big window. We might have now, because now we see people our age bring their kids to this.
Yeah, for sure. That's a big part of it.
But there's a window there.
Yeah, no, there is a window. I mean, there's a big gap, right? And, I hear a lot of the older guys, they'll talk about like what killed slot cars or what hurt slot cars. And a lot of them will blame it on video games.
Yeah, computers, right? Internet, whatever.
And then later it's internet, and I look at a lot of that. And even if you go back to like, what was slot cars doing to compete? What was their answer to video games? Like they didn't have an answer. What happened was just you had this large pool, which we'll call the general population, go from all of their bicycles used to be outside the slot car shop. Like I always think of a picture of Tom Thumb Hobbies, right. A bunch of Schwinn's out there. Yeah. Like that was general population. Okay. And then inside of that, there was hardcore racers that were at that place.
Okay.
The general population moved.
A second layer.
Yeah. And the hardcores stayed. And the hardcores stayed through the 80s, through the 90s. As shops closed, the hardcores would go to the next closest shop. And up here for a long time, that was Buena Park. So the scene at Buena Park in my head was, it was still going because there was enough regulars from all of the surrounding shops to be enough people to keep it going. And the passion of Jim and Debbie.
Well, you unite,
and
50 raceways
Yeah.
that were around to one. And
Yeah,
then,
exactly. And so, but throughout all of that, they're really like the racing side of things. I don't believe, like, I think nowadays people are even less likely. They shy away from competition and racing, and they kind of just want to experience things on their own and then decide what to do with it. And it's really hard to do that in the commercial setting, especially the old school commercial setting where you had, I don't want to name any names, but you have so-and-so testing on yellow or on orange, and he's running a couple $100 car or $400 car. And then the shop owner sends over, little Billy and his mom with the rental, and he comes off in the dead man and takes out the car. It's human nature to react the way that
happens.
You react. Okay, it's not against anybody, even though sometimes us as slot car people, we can be a little more.
If you're a hobbyist and you're racing a $400 car, you're entitled to not have little Billy around.
Yeah, and so during and this kind of, I can share this too. Like before COVID, I introduced my brother-in-law and some of his friends. My brother-in-law is he was like your typical white collar, like tech guy. Okay. And I introduced him to the slot cars, and he got hooked hard, like on the fun of racing. Okay. And we built a track for a guy, I think he's in Los Gatos here in California. And it had a pit stop function on it. I used Mike Block's slot track timing system on it. And we ended up creating a company for doing team building with the slot car tracks.
Okay.
This is pre-COVID. So, and we had another partner that we brought in also. I was the engineering track builder, and one of my brother-in-law did operations, and then another guy did sales. And where I'm at in Utah, they call it Silicon Slopes because it's like a mini Silicon Valley. You have Adobe is there. All tech is there, big tech companies, and they all spend a lot of money on team building because that's an important part of their culture. It's totally different than manufacturing. Like blue collar work culture is completely different than white collar. Yeah. It's a, and I've been on both sides. I've seen both of them, and like I fully understand that, and I try to run my company that way too, where like we're a good balance. It's not just like squeeze people to get more work out of them. It's I want you to know that I'll bend over backwards for you, and you'll do the same for me, right?
I believe that we run this way here too.
Yeah, and it's good. It makes for good culture. But we did this, and I'm not going to get too much into the format, but it was a lethal team builder because nobody has just general slot car ability and skill. Okay. But you could have a guy in a wheelchair pull up. Most team building is physical activity. It's ropes courses, up in Utah, we're big time in outdoor stuff. But you have a lot of people, like even golf. If you don't play golf and there's guys in the office that are always playing golf, and you're going to go do a team builder, like, are you really going to be doing team building, or are you just going to be there to get your face?
Slot car racing be all equal.
Yeah, it's like, so slot car racing, it's equal. It doesn't matter if you're the alpha male in sales or the alpha female, or you're in accounting. Okay, when they get on the track, and we designed this experience for them, and we put them in teams. We did pit stops. We did all kinds of stuff that you could use as metaphors for business also to teach people that it's all about your team. It's all about communication. And it was cool seeing people be kind of like, what's this? And then when they're done, they're high-fiving, just super high energy, right? But the reason I talk about this is because we had 3 tracks and we would rotate through events for big tech companies, thousands and thousands of people every year. Okay. I had like 2 guys ever dislike what we were doing out of all of it. And one of the guys was an engineer, an old school slot car guy. And he only disliked it because he disliked that it was a different format than what he was used to.
Probably he went to this experience thinking, okay, I have experience. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna show off. And he couldn't.
And he couldn't
because
do that
it was limited.
Because it was limited, right? So my point there is that everybody enjoyed it, and a lot of these companies have really young people that work in them. They called it a game. I love that game. Okay, I love that game.
Which is something that we don't like.
We didn't bring into them, we're racing on each lane for this much time. We're going to take your laps. And we didn't bring that format to them, And if you do that with enough people, if you expose it to enough people, you would get guys that wanted to come race in our normal, what we know as normal racing, which is good, right? But there is, it needs more exposure, but it has to be done in a different way than just being about like how to go as fast as you can go. Like there needs to be an arcade mode, which would be the mode that is going to be a dragnet to expose people to the hobby, give them an experience.
Yeah, especially people who is not into real racing.
Yeah, and then we have the opportunity to transition a few of those people into what I would call the hobbyist, which are who we're working with right now. We are working with hobbyists. Like I'll race anywhere. I don't care where it's at. Yeah. But if you go to Northrop down the street and you want to expose them to slot cars, like they're not going to go to someone's basement and they're not going to take their kid there to go race. I mean, here in California, you don't have basements.
Sometimes even hard to bring those guys here 5 minutes away.
Yeah, exactly.
And we have this beautiful
and it's
store
like
right
a
there.
beautiful facility, very nice area, ample parking, everything like that. And so that's the challenge is how do we gamify it? And we had some fun things like when I teach someone how to drive a slot car, we teach them the hand-eye coordination by either we play a simple game where we have the start-finish line and we play closest to the line. You do a lap and you stop on the straightaway and you just, whoever can stop closest to that line.
Okay.
Super simple, but you literally, if you're side by side and you stop, as soon as both cars stop, you go again. You know who wins. And it's like for kids, they can do that.
Yeah, we do the car shows, but I think we should be more gamifying it. We just give laps and there's no races or anything like that. Now we have Marcus doing some announcing, but I think we should bring more exciting because the car shows we have a lot of kids coming up and people kind of uses our booth as a daycare.
Yeah, no, that happens.
Yeah, I'll be there. We'll come back.
And what happens with that, because I've been in those too when we were promoting this company, we would run into like people would the kids would be on it and you can see the adults have interest, but they think it's a kid's thing.
Yeah.
And then their own ego gets in the way of like, I don't know if I should do that. And so there's a really, really fine balance there. And I don't know, like, I don't have the solution for that yet, but that is something that is working in my brain 24/7, and when we get to the point where we have a mass market racing system, okay, like that's all that I will call it, I am not going to go down the normal channels of where that stuff is for sale. And owning a hobby shop, I know how the hobby customer, how they perceive a slot car. And when they walk into a hobby shop and you have radio controlled cars that are this big, that go 70 miles an hour, that could literally jump off this building.
Yeah.
And then you have a box with a picture on it of a car on a fixed track. They don't even care that it's there.
Yeah.
That is only bought, and we're probably all guilty of this. Any parents out there watching, that slot car set is bought during the holidays. It's a seasonal purchase because you're like, I'm not sure what RC car to get or what to get, but I had one of those when I was a kid and it was fun, and I'm going to get one for Mikey.
Nostalgia again.
But the problem is too, is what's in that box is not our kids, their level of like what's fun and what they're used to. It's not the figure eight or even the, whatever the shape is, it is not fun enough to keep their attention more than like 15 minutes. You need more than 30 minutes.
You don't need an hour just to put together.
Yeah, and the space, right?
And the space.
But those are things that I always take into consideration. And the district, like for the slot car companies, like, they went from toy stores. When I was a kid, Toys R Us had rows of slot car stuff. AFX, Tyco, and Lifelike. It was a huge aisle of slot car. When they stopped selling that stuff, or when toy stores closed, like from a manufacturer's point of view, it's like, crap, well, where's my distribution go? Oh, we need to go to the hobby shops now. And the hobby shops, that's where the stuff is now, if it's not online only.
And the hobby shops are closing too.
The hobby shops are closing. I closed mine in May. It did really, really good. It was successful, but I wanted to scale it into multiple locations, and it just doesn't have the margin to be that kind of a company. If it for someone that wanted to make a good wage and own a hobby shop, it's great. But for me, it wasn't a vessel to get me to where I wanted to go. Because I wanted to have, multiple stores all over and integrate slot cars back into those stores, because you can get a lot of people to come into the hobby shop. And if you give them an experience with slot cars in the store, it's a whole different mindset. Which
is something that we try here.
Yeah.
But even though it's as you say, people are seeing this as a kid activity. And we're approaching that window where we don't have the nostalgia feeling anymore.
Yeah.
I have several people, like the boomers, coming here at the door and started yelling at the door, I used to do this in the 60s, or I used to run here. They literally stop at the door and start yelling at us from there. But it's going to be a challenge. I can speak with more authority on the 132nd scale stuff. Has been growing a lot. After pandemic, when we start to do a proper job on marketing here, I think everybody saw opportunity there. I believe that now the market's a little bit saturated. We have over 800 new slot cars every year.
Yeah.
It's a little bit too much, but they're trying to explore. But I have the feeling that we're still trying to fight for the same customers, and we're not doing a good job in renovating.
Yeah,
and that's the challenge.
One of the things I can tell you is the reason that I opened the hobby shop. Okay, this was, I believe, 2022 was when I opened. At that time, I didn't see a long runway for my slot car stuff. Okay. And I was like, I need something else to generate more customers that's also in line with my interests as well. And at that time, a lot of our data that we get from our followers, it was basically 54 to 65 was the majority of our customers. So the graph was way over here.
Yeah.
And after that, there was maybe like over 65, there was like 10%. And then under 54, there was about 10%. And I'm like, I'm only at that time 40 years old. Like, I'm going to be doing this for the next 25, 30 years. Easy. Like, I'll always do slot cars, but from an aggressive business standpoint, I'm going to be doing this for another 30 years at least. Like, I just love it too much. Like, it's too fun.
Yeah.
To make stuff that makes people happy.
Passion is there.
Right. But when we started, we made a change in our content, a calculated change.
Yeah. By the way, it's great stuff you do there. I follow.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I follow it.
I wish we could do more, and I have someone that does a lot of the posts for me now, but we have so many things going.
Yeah, and if you guys don't follow his channel, just go ahead. There's a lot of explanation. There's a lot of product review. There's a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, and
he even tried cars on the wall.
Yeah,
I don't know why. Yeah, there's a track on the wall over there.
The Facebook is where we're most active for sure. Like we do anything that's going to be on our YouTube or whatnot, it'll always be on Facebook as well. Wow. But now we have seen, and in the last year since I've been conscious of these changes, we have seen that entire graph push up to where my 10% is now like 18 to 24.
That's good.
It is really
That's
good.
good.
And the meat of our customer is from 30 to 60.
Okay.
Is like 60%.
That's a good improvement. Yeah.
Right. And so, and the things that people are asking for, like, and that's where I realized, okay, I don't have an entry level product. You have to have a track. You have to have a system to be in our, in our, you know, in our system.
And that's when AFX comes handy.
We are at a point now where I know that that's where I need to take our company, or a leg of our company is having a race set for them, for someone that wants to get in the hobby. Like I spend thousands and tens of thousands or more a year on our marketing to expose, not just marketing, but I consider marketing what we're doing right now. The equipment costs money. It costs money to make the stuff. I have a social media guy.
No, this is more to learn about you.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, when I say marketing, I don't want people to think like I'm pumping all this money to promote our brand. Yeah. It's more of like, we make content that exposes the hobby to people, and that's what we're needing to do. But I also need a product to be able to put in the hands of those people. Because when they ask me, oh, like, where can I get a set? It's like, here's the places you can get one. And if you want larger scale, you know, go to Electric Dreams. Yeah. Like they have the larger scale stuff. Yeah. And it hurts to do that if you're bringing that customer into the ecosystem.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
But again, the customer has the choice. I said at the very beginning, we don't own the customer. They have the choice to go where they go.
But sometimes you feel that you're not very well treated when we do a release of a car here, and the son of a bitches are sending to East Coast first.
Well, this is the thing.
We don't have it here.
One thing that you and I can do is we become, and I have tried to become our brand. Our brand has become an authority of information in the hobby. Yeah. And that is what's really critical. And you can, you know, like people can come into the ecosystem, they can go out of the ecosystem, and they will almost always come back to the ecosystem. Because you're
given the information.
Because of the information, the availability. Yeah. You know, you can order stuff anytime you're on the toilet. You can order stuff from our site, even if it's at 2 a.m.
The clear information. Dan, thank you very much. I think we could be talking here the whole day.
Yeah, it's all good.
But I know that you have your family waiting at the Airbnb.
Yeah. We got to get back to you. I got to get back and get
we need to stop saying that it's 6 kids. Only 4 now. Like 2 of them are moved out.
Yeah,
right?
They're gone.
Yeah, they're grandpa, man. You're a grandpa. Yeah, so it's 4 kids now. You need to reduce that number. Stop the drama.
And a dog, Enzo. Don't forget Enzo.
Enzo the dog.
Yeah.
But thank you very much. I really appreciated you coming. I know that we used your Disney trip to be here, but that's something that I've been trying to get you here for a long time. And if you're looking for Viper parts, we have some stock here. And go to viper.com.
Viperscalracing.com.
Viperscalracing.com. And the track, if I need a track, what do I do?
Yeah, so the tracks right now, we have a brand new machine being launched or it's going to be delivered today. Right? So we hope to be up by January.
Are you building 132nd scale tracks too?
I am going to do that.
There we go.
My goal is everything is going to be in whatever's in stock is what we have.
Okay.
Nothing made to order anymore.
Yeah. Special
orders? I probably will do that because to me, that's still fun for me. Like I still hand wind armatures for fun. I don't do production stuff.
So you don't have HBO then?
No.
Jesus Christ.
But the track stuff, like I want stuff where if somebody's hot and they want a track, they're all really good layouts. They're all designed very, very well. And eventually in the future, we will be able to have a proxy system to where if you have a layout here and I have one at my house, we can race.
Yeah.
We can race through the internet.
Or something,
yeah, and have fun, just like they do with gaming when they do streaming.
That would be cool.
Those are good avenues to expand our hobby into other people and younger people. But the track stuff will be available.
Yeah.
I made, my brother John pushed pretty hard for me to do them again. And I told him, I said, if we're going to do them, we got to go way beyond where we were. And we were trying to do them twice as good. And I would say they're probably going to be about 10 times better.
That's good.
We solved a lot of problems that were I say problems. They were things that we pushed off to the customer to finish. We fixed those and made it to where, a customer doesn't have to take a soldering iron near his couple $1,000 racetrack anymore. A guy that's never soldered in his life.
Yeah. That's
been removed. Materials. We have different materials now. We'll be doing banking, which we never really did before.
That's pretty cool.
But that'll also include the 132 and 124.
And since you don't change the prices for the last 10 years, those tracks will be available for $99.99.
Yeah. So, that'll be another thing is they will be good to go. We are going to have a firm available on the site too, which that's just, something for people to be able, like if they can't drop all the money at once, they can do it that way too.
Dan, thank you very much again.
Yeah, no problem.
If always when you're in California, just let me know and we stop.
I'd love to come race here.
Stop for another chat. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to get back together with Joachim
we need to come back. We need to come back to one of the big ones. It's kind of cool. We have the whole weekend with networking and people talking a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's fun.
For me, it's miserable.
Cool.
It's horrible.
Yeah,
but okay,
it's a lot of work.
Dan, thank you again.
All right. Take it easy, guys. See ya.